Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Stephen Kerr is not letting Humza Yousaf off the hook. He's written to him now and he's demanding answers to his questions. Humza Yousaf has yet to respond. And what can he say? He's hoisted literally with his own petard. His own words, his own emails have been used against him. He cannot have the defence of "it wasn't me" when it clearly was. So he is claiming, it's Islamophobia because someone's questioning what I've actually said and done. No, it's someone questioning why a man who shouldn't be in that position but is spending money against advice and giving it to a prescribed organisation that people are most concerned with. No one mentioned Islam. No one mentioned any kind of racial aspect to this. They were merely concerned that you were breaking the law, Mr. Yousaf, and that you were using your position to extricate your wife's parents from a perilous situation, I'm sure, but using the resources of Scotland to do it. And that's quite against the rules. So, yes, you do have questions to answer, and if you don't, then it's only going to make things far worse for you. And it's going to make a lot of people think that you are just a shady, corrupt, thieving fraudster who has no concern for the people of Scotland and only is concerned with benefiting his own family. I wonder if you'll have a quick word with Dorothy Bain to get your brother-in-law off those charges of drug dealing. Who knows? Let's have a look and see how bad it is for Humza Yousaf, the giver away of other people's money. Here goes. Now, we know Humza Yousaf is a liar. That's proven. He lies. We get that. But is he really as big a threat to security to this nation as we think? It seems yes. It seems he is, because he is, by his actions, funding a prescribed group, by all appearances. By the evidence that we have, that we can see, it certainly appears that way. And if that is the case, then the security forces need to be all over him like a bad suit, and he needs to be hauled off for extensive questioning. He needs to reassure them, perhaps. Perhaps not in Britain, perhaps taken away to some third-party state, where questions can be quite vigorous, I believe. Anyway, Humza Yousaf challenged to answer key questions about the UNRWA donation by Stephen Kerr. The SNP leader ignored official advice to hand the money to UNICEF. He said instead he decided to himself to do it and to add an extra £50,000 of taxpayers' money. It should go to the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA. These are the group that's closely aligned with Hamas. We can't imagine why he'd want to fund Hamas. I mean, we all know Hamas want to eradicate all Jews off the planet, their genocidal tendencies notwithstanding. You'd wonder why a good man like him, who cares so much for people, who represents Scotland and is proud to be Scottish, even though he still retains his Pakistani passport, why would he fund this hate group? It's very weird, isn't it? It's a very weird decision. One has to wonder why. Humza Yousaf has been challenged to answer key questions about his decision to overrule official advice and hand £250,000 of public money to an aid agency in Gaza that is very, very closely aligned and linked with Hamas. It emerged at the weekend that the First Minister had personally taken the decision to give cash to the United Nations Relief and Works Agency rather than UNICEF, as had been proposed by staff last year. At the time, Mr. Yousaf's in-laws were trapped in Gaza, although they managed to secure safe passage on November the 3rd. This was the day after the donation was announced, and it's a very curious timing. They had to somehow get all the way through Gaza, to get to the exit point, and they managed it by very curiously, the day after the £250,000 money had been. I was very nearly going to say the word ransom there, and that would be quite wrong, wouldn't it? Donation was announced that it would be paid by the Scottish people, and then of course the Scottish people are only too happy to welcome foreign nationals out of Gaza for some reason. Anyway, Mr. Yousaf, who also met UNRWA representatives in the days leading up to the decision, it is claimed had a conflict of interest, because of course he does. Of course he does. But that isn't going to stop him from handing other people's money over to UNRWA. And whenever I say UNRWA, I keep meaning to say Hamas, and it's very wrong, isn't it? It's very wrong. They're not the same. I know they're aligned, I know they're very similar, I know they're very friendly, and I know members of one are often members of the other. But we must never confuse the two, unlike, I think, perhaps Mr. Yousaf has possibly done. Following the donation, serious allegations were made about UNRWA's links with the terror group Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The SNP has reacted furiously to the story, accusing the Tories of being Islamophobic. Yeah, it was actually the United Nations that fired all the UNRWA workers for being members of Hamas and for joining in the slaughter of 1,500 innocent people. Is he going to go to the UN and say that they are Islamophobic as well? No, of course not, because he's an idiot. Much of the Nat criticism has been directed at Central Scotland MSP Stephen Kerr, who, how dare he present facts and evidence? He should shut the hell up, apparently. He shouldn't be sitting there and telling people exactly what happened and exactly what was said. People need to have this hidden from them. People must never know the truth. It would upset them. Anyway, he's vowed to keep pressing the government for answers and has now written to Mr. Yousaf, setting out the points he must address. In the letter, Mr. Kerr asked the SNP leader what his rationale for overriding official advice to fund UNICEF and instead direct the money to UNRWA. He also asked if steps had been taken to ensure UNRWA, keep wanting to say Hamas, was a suitable organisation which presented no risk of misuse of funds. Well, we kind of know that that's not true, don't we? He also asked when the assessment was taken out on the potential impact of the Scottish Government and why it was suggested giving only $200,000 to UNICEF but an extra £50,000 to UNRWA. Mr. Yousaf was asked if he discussed the publicity impact of the funding announcement with UNRWA officials and whether consideration was given to officials from the UK Foreign Office. Now, foreign issues, be it of any nature, are not a devolved matter. They're a reserved matter. They're reserved to Westminster. So firstly, Scotland must never give anything in foreign aid. Secondly, it must have no dealings with foreign agencies. Humza Yousaf keeps breaking these. Why? Because he can. Because no one's actually stopping him. All it takes is David Cameron to say, right, that's it. Had enough of your shit. Close down all those little pretendy embassies overnight, bang, and then pull Humza Yousaf's passport. It's within his power, he can do it. Pull the passport. So you'll get it back when you stop being a complete and utter twat. Anyway, Mr. Kerr also asked if the First Minister had any discussions with or received representation from any local or international charities or representatives from political action groups related to the Palestinian cause. The Tory MSP said he'd hoped to raise the issue at Holyrood this week, but his question had not been selected by the presiding officer, who's a member of the SNP. Weird, isn't it? Such an important issue. And the presiding officer, the SNP presiding officer, said, oh, well, no, we won't be asking that question. Too embarrassing. Won't be asking that question, no. He ends the letter by saying it is imperative that the office of First Minister must be protected from any implication that it is beyond scrutiny or does not have the power to answer to Parliament or the Scottish people. MSPs must be able to hold the executive to account, and I would have hoped that you would seek to use the mechanisms at your disposal to allow this in Parliament. Not a chance. Humza Yousaf is running scared. He's absolutely terrified. He's terrified because he's done wrong. He knows he's done wrong. He knows the position now is such that he could be seen to be giving money to a prescribed organisation which is calling for genocide, for which he is an obvious supporter, and now he's breaking all these different rules. Nobody knows where the money's come from. Nobody knows how it got there. And it's all linked to getting his mother and father-in-law out of Palestine. Stinks like weak old fish. He is a crook. I'm not even alleging it. He's a crook. Coming up. See, the longer it goes and the longer he takes before he answers, the worse it looks for him. That he looks increasingly, by day, he looks increasingly guilty. And he'll always be guilty because he is guilty. He's guilty. He breaks the rules. He goes against the officials. He hands money from the wrong place. He gives it to the wrong people. And he won't answer the questions because the questions are so difficult for him. because he doesn't want to be seen as someone who is anti-Semitic, Jew-hating, genocidal bastard. Unfortunately, because he's not answering these questions, that's exactly how he's coming across. It's not going to change. It's not going to get better. It's just going to get worse for him. And soon he'll be gone anyway. I mean, he hasn't got long left, has he? He's nearly out. He'll hit the year, I think, but then he'll be gone. He's going to be gone very soon. Anyway, we'll round off there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and I will speak to you later. Bye.